No, it wasn't just you, Mega Leech. It wasn't just you. Thank you for that. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Okay. There should be sound now. Okay. Just one of those things. Okay, so if the internet stays with me, then I'll stay with you, is basically all I can say at this point. And hello, Glee and Justin and Musical Aviator, and I said hello to you, Mega Leech, when I had no sound, so you wouldn't have heard it. So I should say hello again. The sound was my fault because I unplugged the mic and then plugged it back in, but when you unplug it, it switches off. Even when you plug it back in, it's off. So that's on me getting that wrong, but we'll see how we go from there. So it looks like an interesting color. I'm drinking a Cappy soda, an Australian independent soda maker. They make good tonic water for cocktails. This is one of their sodas, Blood Orange and Sage. Very light flavor, very refreshing. How much sugar it's got in it? Energy, 5 kilojoules. Not a lot of sugar then. Ingredients: water, natural flavors. Does not have a lot of sugar. Saying it's in tiny little letters that my old eyes struggle with a little. Throw some more light on it. That's better, a bit more light. Energy. This ain't only 2 kilojoules per 100 mils. So there's no sugar in it then. No sweeteners or sugar. Wow, that's why it's such a light taste. It's not even artificial sweetness. Oof, jeez, I could get used to that. Okay. This is Gravity. Had a nice dinner with your now ex-girlfriend. Broke up 12 months ago, sorta. Her mum and dad, the room mate she's kicking out, new boyfriend that's moving in. That sounds complicated socially. That sounds quite complicated. I'm glad you were able to navigate it. This is my first time trying this. Pretty good. It's just a really light taste. So it's a bit more interesting than drinking soda water. I got a pack that had this Brookie's Slow Gin from the Cape Byron Distillery in New South Wales to go serve over ice with a splash of soda. Make an extra 1 part gin, 1 part tonic, 1 part soda. It's an interesting one. Those cubes of French. Ooh, that's a real summer one. But this one's simpler, just with ice. So, Leisha Ann on Facebook, Brookie's Rock. I got this and their new. Ooh, I dropped the postcard. Their new limited one-off moonshine, Pacific Moonshine, which I haven't tasted yet. I've been really controlled. I thought I'll save it for a live stream to have a taste test. I got so much stuff to taste, actually. This is the first of it. But the Pacific Moonshine, artfully distilled from kegs of stone and wood Pacific Ale. That was beer that couldn't be sold because of the coronavirus lockdown. So they distilled the spirit from beer. This strange little sipper bursts with flavors of tropical fruits. Fresh pineapple, lychee, passion fruit, and mango. Ideal for highballs, tiki cocktails, or simply mixed with your favorite ginger beer. and they've got a recipe for their version of a Mai Tai that has the Pacific Moonshine, their Mac liqueur, pineapple juice, and orange juice. And hell to the yes, I am making that at some point because that just sounds fucking great. I haven't tasted the moonshine. I have to admit, I smelled it, and it smells really good. It's 46% alcohol, so a bit beefier than a lot of spirits. So Glee, you need to drink now. I'm a bad influence. Yeah, so like the moonshine is slightly higher alcohol than your average spirit. Zvan, hi, merry early Christmas to you. Oh, Alicia, and the Mac is so good, so good. I'm so glad I found that. It's like I've been during lockdown, and I'll just probably continue this way now that we're not locked down. I made a point of buying a lot of Australian product, getting Australian gins and whiskies and liqueurs, and really enjoying them. And I have to admit, the two, like the liqueurs that are right, I thought that just have to be in my collection from now on is Brookie's Mac liqueur and Applewood's Ochre Gold, kind of like their version of yellow chartreuse, which is like a yellow herbal liqueur with Australian botanicals. Oh, it's good. It is so good. And they mix so well. It's kind of like you just go like virtually any standard cocktail and then go, oh, and I'll throw in half a shot of Mac or half a shot of Ochre Gold. And it almost always works. Like an old fashioned with some Mac in it. So it's kind of like a Godfather. A Godfather is a whiskey and amaretto drink. So nut liqueur, except what's amaretto? Almond. And Mac is macadamia and wattle seed. Oh, yes, Lisha Ann, Tiny Bear Gin Distillery. I got their Christmas pack. Very good. I got a sampler from them earlier in the year, which of course I went through, and I got their Christmas sampler. Oh yeah, Alicia and Mac on the rocks. Yeah, God, Mac on ice cream. I haven't tried it, but I've always thought that would probably be really good. Mac as a syrup on ice cream, like vanilla ice cream. I imagine that would be really good. So yeah, I've got Tiny Bear gins and Applewood gins and Brogan's Way gin. Got some Australian rums as well, some international rums. Speaking of rum, here's our rum chat. It's
Yeah, baby. I'm a motherfucking star boy.
Yeah.
I
I wanted a soundtrack for tonight. That's good.
I motherfucking star boy. Do what you want.
So yeah, with Leisha Ann, we've both been buying Australian booze during this year of lockdown. Adelaide gins, Applewood are from Adelaide, from the Adelaide Hills, and I have several Applewood products. They make Ochre Gold, and I've got their Coral gin, which is a pink gin that has one of the botanicals is this sort of native succulent that grows near the sea, so it absorbs sea salt. So it's a very salty thing. So it's got some of that characteristic in it. And I got their finger lime gin. They love using Australian natives. They recently just brought out a trio of gins where the hero flavor was Australian natives, and I was so freaking tempted. They just sounded really good. But it's like, okay, I'm not a mad gin drinker like Kirsten, and I've probably got enough gins at the moment, and my drink carts are full anyway. So, have you been, Aidsy, by the way?
Fine.
Fine.
Missed 2 doctor's appointments.
Oh, well, I went to the dentist, ended up getting a filling, which I wasn't planning on. But
Really?
yeah, it
Where'd
was
you
supposed
get
to
it?
just be
In the teeth,
gums. He was looking
obviously.
at gums and he's going, "Oh, we were going to get just the gum specialist to see you, but she's not in today. So I'm just going to check and clean." He goes, "Oh, look, and I found a little hole." And so, given that's my specialty, because he was a dentist, I'll fill the hole and we'll arrange for you to see a gum specialist at one time because I've got filthy gums, filthy gums.
So this guy basically has called you in on a scam.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
gone,
he's
come
just
on down, buddy.
yeah,
I've got a fucking Nigerian prince locked up for a crime he didn't commit. And if you come in for a gum check, nothing bad's going to happen. Oh, fuck,
yeah,
look, I found a
yeah,
hole. I'll
yeah.
just drill it out.
No
Oh,
anesthetic
there's the
either.
hole. I
Yeah,
better fill it up. It's perfectly
yeah,
round. How
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And then he'll
yeah,
call you in. Oh, the gum specialist is here. Yeah, you
yeah.
bet you've got to put $23,000 in a bank account. You'll get 24 million bucks bank and clean gums.
A
Yeah,
lot of that sort
someone
of
will be
thing.
left with a
Yeah.
broken fucking heart, no passport, sold to Arab traders as a white slave dancing boy, and dirty gums.
Just
That's how it
practicing my
goes, except you bent
practicing
over.
my dancing. Oh, sorry. I just noticed Justin telling us the US Supreme Court unanimously rejected Trump's appeal. I assume what you're actually saying is they refused to hear the case that was raised on Trump's behalf by Texas. It was stupid as fuck. It was Texas saying, well, those four state, because to get to the Supreme Court, you have to go through all the previous courts and appeal and go higher and higher. And they don't have enough time to do it. And they were never going to win, but they did this last desperate thing. You can go straight to the Supreme Court if a state is suing another state, basically. But the Supreme Court can refuse to hear your case because it's dumb as fuck. Which is, I assume, what happened this time. They just said, "You are the stupid. Get out."
And it's stunning because the US Supreme Court has been packed with Trumpist
Yes.
stooges. And these are scary motherfuckers. These are motherfuckers that are going to overturn Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade, even.
Yeah.
Let that
Yeah.
go.
They are
We'll
going
ever
to
hear of that
make.
again.
Yeah. They are going to make abortion illegal in the United States.
Like really just illegal. And
there is basically no question that's going to happen.
And these scary fascist people, right? They're the kind of people that will reintroduce the death penalty because, okay, Obama put a moratorium on the death penalty
At
on
the
the
federal
simple
level.
expedient that it costs too much.
Yeah.
It's too expensive. And
Unless you just ignore any concept of appeals and just start executing people, which is Trump this year has executed more people, and this has got flown under the radar. He has executed more people than have been executed in the previous 30 years. And he wants to execute about another 8 before he's out. So, like one a week. And they're really dodgy cases. So many of them are really dodgy cases. But it's like at the federal level, there's been like, a handful of executions since the 70s, and Trump's done 8 so far. So like he's done more in the last year than were in the previous 30 years, and he wants to do more. And it's just like, what?
Anyway, well, like I was saying, Obama basically turned around and because remember, they said, oh, the Coon can have it now because it's broken. Here you go.
Yeah.
And they gave him a shit economy and a broken country. And
Yeah.
he put it back together again after they were yelling at him for it. And turned around one day and said, "Oh, by the way, the economy's back now, better than it was when it broke," and everyone
Yeah.
went grunt. Not thanks, big guy. Thanks for unfucking the economy, and thanks for getting us out of 2 wars which weren't winnable and were pointless. Thanks, not, no thanks for that. How about stop putting watermelons in the White House lawn? Was all the shit that they could say.
Yeah.
Fucking he's always quietly been against fucking the death penalty, right? Obama has. And he just turned around and said, "This fucking death penalty is too expensive. It costs a fortune. We're just going to stop it." And all the people who are waiting on death penalty can wait forever. Fuck them. They can stink. They can sit there and rot in fucking jail, which is, effectively what you want.
Sorry.
And they rotted in jail, and these people now in the Supreme Court are going, "No, fuck that. We're gonna fucking neck them. We're gonna top the lot. Bring gas back." Gas has, by the way, been found to be the most inhumane torture method, execution method they know of so far. Go on.
Another fun one. Trump wants to use a firing squad for executions.
You know the shitty part about a firing squad?
What?
Is that it's actually probably the most humane way to do it.
The last person to be executed by a firing squad, I remember it happened when I was at school in the US, Gary Gilmore. He elected to be killed by a firing squad. And how they do it, he's strapped to a chair in a room. And there's like 6 people, and there's 6 people with rifles, and there's this weird thing where there's this cone on the front, so they can't see, but it's structured so they're basically resting the rifles. It's been engineered so the rifles are pointing straight at the guy in the chair, but the person pulling the trigger on the gun can't see that, and they're told not every gun has a live round in it. So
that's actually true. That's actually true.
You can console yourself. You may not have been the one who killed him. And they all go 1, 2, 3, bang.
And basically, all right, the cone thing was that one time.
Yeah, no, I saw the video of it and it was weird as hell.
It's weird as hell. That cone thing was the one time. Traditionally, what happens is there's a slit in the wall.
Yeah.
And a paper target or a white triangle on the guy's heart.
Yeah.
Yep. You can elect to shoot the head if you want. And they basically load all the guns in front of the men, and one of them is a blank. One of them is a blank, and it's randomly assigned. Okay.
Yeah.
So the clip goes in, clip. One of those clips has a blank in it. The men are shown the blank going into the clip before all of this, and then they go out of the room. The clips are sort of shuffled about like mahjong, and they go into the guns, and then they through the wall. And the idea is they really can only really see sort of from here to sort of there.
Yeah.
Sort of there, of the guy through the sight. Bang, and it's all over. Thing is, it's actually way quicker than all of the rest of the execution methods. It's way more precise and effective. The needle was considered, much nicer. They go to sleep, then their breathing stops. Except doctors won't do it. Nurses aren't allowed to do it. They train prison staff to do it, and they fuck it up all the time. And the drugs used effectively can if you miss the vein, and what happens all the time is they go through the vein.
Yeah.
If you miss, they'll basically burn muscle. So
Yeah.
they won't be asleep. They'll be in agony, and then they'll be poisoned, and they'll die over a period of about 5 or 6 minutes in utter agony.
Yeah.
There's no coming back. There's no stopping
Yes.
it, and there's nothing you can do to ease the suffering. It's
Yeah.
just done, and it's a horrid way to die.
Yeah.
If it's done correctly, it's actually not too bad. But there's so many that have been botched.
Yeah. Oh
That
yeah.
we're talking a
Horror
third of
stories.
them have been
Real
botched.
horror stories of the person screaming, but
Yeah,
there's a paralysis thing as well, so they can't move, but they can kind of scream and stuff, and it's taken minutes for them to die.
yeah,
And
and the paralysis takes time, so they struggle as it burns them, and then they stop struggling and they scream and scream and scream, and it's just fucking wrench. Remember that the jury's got to watch this go down, and the families of the victims are given the opportunity to watch this go down as well. And you know, I don't know how you'd be as a juror going, yeah, I'm done my duty. So, this is this same country. This is one of the areas where I actually admire the Catholics, right? Because they're all up in your face about no abortion, right? But at the other end, they protest just as hard and fast against execution.
Yeah.
They are fucking deeply into don't execute.
Yeah.
Protests, fucking advocacy, free fucking legal, you name it. They are fucking right in there going, don't fucking execute people because it's not right to kill people. I don't see any of your rolled gold American Christians
The
having the same.
evangelical.
Yeah, your evangelicals aren't.
Yeah.
Life is it's God's plan for life, not man's plan. It's like, well,
Yeah.
tends to be man's plan in this situation.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's different. It's different. It's not a woman's body which we own as chattel.
Yeah.
And
I always say about them, they're so lucky that none of it's true. None of the Bible is true, because the Bible makes it extremely explicit. They'd go straight to hell.
Straight to hell.
It's like there's you read the New Testament, and there's about a dozen things in there that these guys do every day that it's like, you do not enter the kingdom of heaven if you do this shit. The simplest is being rich. Being rich at the expense of other people. You shall not enter the kingdom of heaven.
No.
So one assumes either, and I think there's probably a mix of crowds. Either they've bought into their own delusion and they believe their twisted version is real, or they're as atheist as I am, and they're just like, none of this is real. I'm just milking these rubes for money, and it's fucking hilarious.
Well, there's been lots and lots of bustings. I don't know if that's even a word. Where they've there was one famous one that Rudy, the skeptic guy, did, where he got a transceiver in the audience, and he tuned into the earpiece that the preacher was wearing, and his wife was up in the control box, and they had gotten little pieces of paper for the faithful to come in and write down their prayer request on the piece of paper. And as if by magic, the pastor had, God, he gave it to God, and was told, as if by magic, who to call up and how to cure them and what to cure them of. and they fucking lapped it up. And of course, what's going on is she's just fucking saying blah blah blah, row 12, seat 4, fucking cancer, blah blah blah, row 6, seat 2, fucking deafness. Better be loud for this one, honey. And the opening things is honey, I hope you can hear me, because if you can't, you're fucked. Was the opening fucking lines.
Yeah.
And Rudy played that quite happily in National TV. And
Absolutely.
you know, he had to resign and was back in because he got done for fraud. And he had to pay something like $1.5 million. And he was back in 6 months after he got out of prison. Said,
Yeah,
I've
they do
learned
that.
my lesson, and
Yeah.
went right back to do what he was doing. And
Yeah.
the crowds were just as big.
Yeah.
Every
So it's
time
like,
these motherfuckers come out of
yeah.
prison because they've been caught. The
Yeah.
Backer family, right?
Well, the
Got
backers are
caught.
the best.
Scandal
The
after
affairs,
scandal
the
after
drugs, the
right, drug, sex. I think Backer was one of the original sniffing cocaine off the back of the whore he was fucking up the arse. Or I think he was one of the original ones.
yeah.
And
And he was getting young, impressionable church girls in his office, and well, don't worry. He'd lure them in like, "Don't worry, my security guard's here. Nothing will happen." And then the security guard would just stand there while he groped the young church ladies, which is
yeah,
a whole fucking weird thing going on there.
yeah, and he would he'd groom him to the point where he could get him to blow him virtually on an hourly basis. They had their time to get ready.
Yeah.
And they had to come in with a cup of coffee and some biscuits or a sandwich, depending on first lunch.
Yeah.
Get their blowjob and deliver the coffee. Coffee's not warm. What's going on? So he got done, and they foolishly hadn't moved all their money to the Cayman Islands. They left foolishly $25 million in America. And the American justice system saw fit to charge them a fine of $3.5 million. That'll show them. And the estimated $680 million in the Cayman Islands stayed there. I remember two things that really blew my mind in the 90s or the aughties. It was in around that area, probably end of aughties, early thousands, where there was one guy, you know, late night TV angelicals, because I couldn't fucking sleep because I was in pain, and I was watching these, and this guy said, I know, people, that you've already bought us 2 planes, a 737. We had the business jet that we fly around quickly when we need to go intercontinentally for quick healings, and we have the 737 with the long extended range fuel tank for meetings, and we have the 767 when we need to bring whole ministries. But God's put it on my heart that we need a 747 to offer proper stadium prayer groups to our international Christians, to the little babies and men and women who need Christ in their life. So if you can dig deep and get this simple $114 million that we need for our 747, then we can deliver the word of God and dig some more wells and shit. And they fucking bought 2. So they had a fleet of 2 747s, a 767, a 737, and it turned out 5 fucking business jets. And you know, those big fucking Commander Bombardier style things that go real quick and intercontinentally. The ones that you fucking, rich people do cocaine in.
Yeah.
There's apparently a thing whereby rich people take these on the weekend. They take their big business jet to Florida from everywhere in America, refuel, top off the tanks, and then fly a long way, and then fly back that night. And
Yeah.
the tanks are nearly empty. And everyone on the ground says, you could fly all the way to South America with that. And it's like, yes, you can.
Yes,
and
you
these
can.
people are so fucking rich that customs does not fuck around with searching their shit, especially if they're reverends. And they're bringing in so much coke. And the ridiculous thing is, it's all touted as being probably personal use. They're bringing in fucking kilos for themselves and their mates. It's like, Jesus.
Parties.
So anyway, they had all these fucking planes. The next thing that blew my mind, it was like a month later, because I watched this. This was over a week. He wanted this, and it turned up in a week. He's 2 747s, $228 million, $230 million. Right? Thanks for coming. The fans put in, the faithful put in as extra love gifts. And then there was this one woman, and she's quite famous. I can never remember her name. She's this fat, dowdy thing with hair high to God, and she's fucking ugly from the inside. And she's a brutal bully of a woman. And she was saying, when it comes to matter of faith, believe, don't think, right? Stop this thinking, believe, don't think. And then she said, don't think for a minute on the TV as she was marching around the stage.
Yeah.
And there was a subscript under her going, don't think. And I was like desperately trying to find a tape.
Crazy
I could fucking get in and just record some of this, because I thought on any film clip, having this woman coming around going, don't think, with all the God paraphernalia behind it would just be perfect. But she did that without batting an eyelid. She was, in one of the mega conglomerations of mega churches. I saw a bit of Aaron Ra, and he rocks around, and his job is to clade paleontology. So his job is to name different lines of paleontology and make them make sense in an evolutionary arc. Okay.
Yeah.
And so he stares at fucking bones and evidence all day and goes, right, the flying fox is actually a monkey. The fruit bat is a bat. And it's just convergent evolution. Humans are monkeys. We are actually monkeys. We are on the same line, right? And so his gig is that. And of course, he has copped no shit at all from evangelicals. And when he was a kid, he was brought up in evangelical world. He was at church with his grandma, and he said to his grandma, "Grandma, that man's lying." And she slugged him in the guts. And he tried to be a good Christian when he was a young guy, and then he just more and more just got slapped around the face with reality.
Oh, God.
And went, no, that's not real. And he asked, apparently the final straw is he asked his friend, "I'm having real trouble with my faith, because there's just too much facts. It's just fucking not lining up." And his friend said to him, "Listen, if you have trouble with Faith, just believe harder. Just believe harder, and the truth will just disappear. And he just went, okay, that's it. I'm out.
You're
And
nuts.
he basically got into science big time, and looked at it and went, oh, so this is actually how it goes then.
Yeah.
And he goes around America talking to Christian groups saying, well, you're wrong, and this is why you're wrong. Your book has 2,300 something contradictions in it. And I've actually seen this poster on the internet, which has got all of the phrases of the Bible and red lines arcing across to one another where they contradict. And there are thousands of them where they directly contradict one another.
Yeah.
And one of the nice things Aaron Ra said was there have been so far, out of the 113 biblical prophecies, there have been so far 84 or something that have had their chance, and they have all failed. Every single one has failed. They have not predicted anything. The time has come and gone, and it hasn't worked. But nope, they go back for the prophecy some more.
Yeah, must be a winner one day.
There's we're gonna. Must be a bit like
just keep believing hard, and it'll happen one day.
Yeah, keep on believing. And anyway, the crew, they were going on an intercity tour. I think they were going on an international tour. I know, but they were going on a tour, and the crew chanced upon a mega church setting up for a weekend crusade, and they went into this stadium, which was fucking enormous. It was a church. It wasn't a sports stadium. It was a church.
A mega church, yes.
And it was bigger than a stadium. And they found one of the staff out the front. She was wearing her uniform like any theatre staff would. And like the good guide she was, she had the perfect white teeth and the long blonde hair and the perfect blue eyes. And they said, so how many people can fit in here? And she said, well, sir, in that beautiful, I'll answer anything you want. The stadium seated 180,000 people.
Jesus.
How much does it cost to get a seat? On the top shelf, away from the stage, it costs $110. On the bottom shelf, away from the stage, it costs $220. On the floor, it costs $380.
Yeah.
Up the front 5 rows, it costs $650, and they're the ones that sell first.
Yeah.
And so one of the guys did a quick back of the envelope calculation, said, yeah, that'd fund us for 80 years. One day would fund our operations for 80 years.
You'd love, there was a comedy series with John Goodman and some other notables in it called The Righteous Gemstones, and they were a televangelist family, and they were fucked up, and it was a really funny show. But that sort of stuff, like their megachurch, where they're counting like it's millions of dollars every weekend. It's wild.
Every weekend.
I also want to say a few hellos, people who came in while we were having that little talk about the televangelists. Hi, Nobody and Safa and Robot Man Greg and Shieldsy and Nine. Sorry, just like saying hello, even if it's very belated. Yeah, see, nobody's in a proper church where donations are optional. It's like going to, Catholic church. They pass the plate around. There isn't actually a gun held to your head when you do it. Or there was
they look at you, but it's like, fuck yeah, I'm not putting anything in. I don't want to.
Yeah. Just remind me, one of my dad loved making, because he was a convert, and so he loved making jokes about nuns, and he had a whole bunch of Catholic jokes, and one was a Catholic guy and a Jewish guy deciding they should learn more about each other's faith, and so the Catholic guy goes to the synagogue with the Jewish guy, talk, it's wonderful, collection plate comes around. The Jewish guy puts $20 in, so the Catholic guy puts $40 in, and there it goes on. Next week they go to the Catholic service, and it's talking, hymns, different tones, Jewish one. Collection plate comes around, the Catholic guy puts $20 in, so the Jewish guy puts $40 in, and go more talk, the homily, and then a second collection comes around, which is how it works in Catholic churches, a second collection. And the plate comes around, and the Catholic guy puts $50 in, and the Jewish guy's like, "Oh, Jesus," and like puts $100 in, and goes, and they go outside, and the Catholic guy says, "So, what did you think yours different? The singing, and there's a whole different vibe and stuff." He goes, "Well, I tell you what, I don't know how we lost such a good business to you guys."
Well, I didn't know for years and years and years until I was being counselled by my headmaster for being a big fat pork.
Yeah.
Because I told you that I was thrown out of class in 5 seconds for the last year of my schooling. There were about 3 classes where I'd walk in and they'd say, "Hey, Claire, get out." And I'd go, "Okay, where am I going?" To the headmaster. Right now. I'm not being rude, but because here's your note. Thank you very much. And I'd go, half the class would laugh. And one time, one girl went, "Oh, come on." Because I had like 2 steps in the class before it was Claire, get out.
Yeah.
And she went, "Oh, come on." And this teacher went, "You can go with him." And I went, "Oh, don't. It's okay. It's going to be all right." Anyway, so she's gone, "It's bullshit. They throw you out every week." And, and you still managed to pass the test. And I said, "I know. Isn't that odd? What the hell's going on with that? You and I should go to study group." And she said, "No, I've heard about what happens at your study groups. Thank you." And she said, "I don't know why they're throwing you out for being a porf. The reputation you've been getting lately has been a bit outrageous." And I said, "Oh, really? I thought it was a bit on the DL." She said, "DL? Doubt it. There's been girls coming in going, 'Oh my God, who let that go for so long?
Yeah.
What's next? Because I want another bite." And I was going, "Yeah, I'm fucking chuffed." As any young bloke would be. Anyway, so I go to the headmaster and he explains to me. I said, "Why the 2 plates? Why not just the one?" He said, "Oh, one of them is for the church. One of them goes straight
to the diocese.
But the other one goes to the locals. It goes to us."
Yes, it's their wage.
And the one that goes to us happens after the sermon. So it's a way to gauge how good your gig was. And this is how he explained it to me. He said, if you did a good gig that week, you get a good turnout.
Good collection.
If you really hit all the points, then you get a good tip. But if you're a bit shit, you get fucking nothing. And he said, "Oh yeah, I've been in $1,000 gigs. Thank you very much. I've delivered some very good sermons. I've come back to the residents going, 'Oh yeah, we got $1,000 after my sermon.'" And the junior priests are always like embarrassed because they come back with like $200 going on, and there's like 500 people in the church going, "Oh yeah, I got $200." And the old guys go, "Don't worry, mate. Fuck, it'll get better. You'll get better. Don't worry about it.
You got to learn to work the crowd."
You'll work the crowd." And I'm just going, "It's outrageous. It's just like what I do." And then later on, years later, it's like, "It is what you do, dickhead. Yeah. It's the same thing."
Yeah, it's performance.
And we discussed this. It was actually really helpful for my formative theatre career and comedy career, the priest said there has always been. I said, why if he said to me, we needed gods because there was chaos. That's man's greatest fear. You'll notice that everything is measurement and mathematics. Everything. We can describe everything with mathematics, and I bullshit you not. And I didn't understand that at the time. Today, with computer programming, I do actually understand what he means. Yes, you can describe everything with mathematics. And you've got to context it, but you can. And he said it's all measurement and it's all observation. And he said, and it was that way. And remember that the first gods were the sun and the moon and nature, because they were cyclical. Because the trouble with nature was it was also very chaotic and very fucking aggressive toward you. And if you fucked up and slipped, nature would eat you so fast. The animals were stronger than you and they had worse teeth and they were faster than you. So we had to make tools and we had to make fire, we had to make clothes. We were always in the wrong fucking environment. It was never set up for us. It was always set up for the shit that was trying to kill us. Chaos was the big fucking enemy, and nighttime was the worst enemy of all. So you can imagine that fire has always been our big thing. You know, today we still move heat around. We think we're so clever, but our energy systems are based on moving heat around. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We move heat around, and we think we're so good for it.
Yeah.
Moving heat around is what gives us our modern world. You know, like, aren't we clever? But he said there has always been one guy who sits in the corner of the cave and says, I know it's tough right now, but I've spoken to God or the gods or the nature or whatever you want to call God today, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
We're going to win. We're going to be okay. And, you know, and he said one of the holiest times is, of course, Easter, the springtime, because that's the hungry time. Spring is hungry because it's the end of winter and you put everything you have into the ground in the last of winter. You put all the last food into the ground. And if this doesn't work, you're fucked. And 3 days later, the green shoots come through and you're saved. The resurrection has happened and you're saved. There's going to be food. There's going to be harvest. There's going to be, you know, animals are going to come and you're going to shoot them and eat them and it's going to be good again. And the babies are going to get fat. And there's always that one guy who says, have faith. It's going to happen. It's going to happen because he knows the right day to put the seed in because he's noticed the patterns. Yeah.
Was able to follow the moon and the stars and the whatnot. Sorry, I also just want to say a quick Hellion hello to Kirsten, who came in and look what I got today. Like, I got a little packet of the Brookie's Slow Gin and some Cappy sodas, which do in fact go very well together. So that's good. I got my moonshine too.
Nice. To finish this off, I went to theatre school and Bill Blakey said there has always been a guy. Why do you think theatres are black? And because you can paint them different colours. No. What do you think? And he said to me, I've got a question for you. Why do you think theatres are black? And it took me 4 years, and I went back to him and I said, because they're caves. And he said, yeah, you nailed it. And basically we make artificial caves to assemble in, to have a guy next to the fire or the lights, tell the story of how we're going to survive, tell the story of how we're going to make it, tell the story of how we're going to continue somehow. And, there's always going to be money for comedy, and there's always going to be money for drama, and there's always going to be money for Shakespeare and dance. Always going to be money for the pushing back of the inevitability of death and the longevity of humanity. Even in our current struggle against climate change.
Yeah.
I heard someone in the mall yesterday say climate change. And he said, I meant sort of climate change, but now I think I mean climate change. I think I do. And I was thinking, you know what? I think, yeah, climate change might be a thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I suddenly realised that these priests do what I do. It's the same gig.
It is, yeah.
Except that they tell you, give me more money or you'll burn. I'm not allowed to tell them that. Governments tell them that. And I get taxed. This guy I used to get counselled by used to say that the churches should be taxed, that priests should marry. He said the Anglicans are kicking our ass at the moment. Gays are okay, and they were moving toward gaydom, and priests were starting to marry. Had always married, and they were moving to ordain women. He said, and we've got to do that, all of that, and we'll have to do it all at once, and that will form a schism in the church, and will crack Africa in two. It'll crack what the hell we've got left of Europe in two, and Asia will be bizarrely fine with it. South America will instantly go for it. Because most of the South American priests in the rural areas are married, because if you don't have a woman in South America, you're nothing. So the priests go out and get a woman. Jesuits, the shock troops of Jesus, they fucking know their local ways. And so, yeah, it was always interesting seeing, and then because that was all I knew of churchdom, and then I met the evangelicals, and I went, "You guys are laying it on a little thick, aren't you? Aren't you worried? Aren't you worried that the peeps are going to turn around and say, 'What are you doing?' Aren't you worried that your flock is going to go, 'Stop bullshitting'? Because you're not allowed to bullshit in the house of God, because you get in trouble for that." And no, they weren't worried about that. The peeps down the back were going, "More of that," and I'm going, "Are you fucking nuts?" No, they're not nuts.
The belief becomes their identity. That's the interesting observation someone made with the real batshit Trump supporters, the QAnon crowd, how Trump and everyone can trumpet and fail again and again and again and again. And these true believers never waver, just no matter how much evidence there is, because it's become their identity. And for them to see and acknowledge and absorb the obvious wrongness is to reject what they've come to see as themselves. So the worse it gets, they just double down and go, "No,
they double down, and
it's all good."
90% of cults continue on after the cult leader has been jailed for multiple felonies, offences, and frauds.
Yeah, because they're outsiders, and that just validates that the bad people are out to get them.
Right? 90% of cults keep going. Just because the leader has been put in jail doesn't mean it's all wrong. It just means the leader was misled by the devil for a little while, and he'll get better and come back to us. And sometimes he won't come back to us because he's been put in there for fucking life.
Yeah.
Because he's a raping, murdering twat.
Yeah. But even on the mild end of the spectrum, well, like the cult ones are extreme, but I just completely forgot what I was going to say. I was going to say something. Let's just assume I said something very insightful, and
Well,
then
that reminds me of the Christians that I met when I was full of hatred for Christians. And I was full of hatred for Christians. And I really should have checked my own shit at the door. But,
but we get like,
and it was a good reminder of checking your own shit at the door, mate.
yeah.
And I was at Byron Bay. And I I was paid to do 3 comedy gigs at Byron Bay. That was, remember, I was talking about the best gig ever,
Yes,
and it
yeah,
ended up in
part of that,
cocaine and an orgy. That was that gig. And the day before that gig was hot. It was like 37 degrees and Byron Bay fucking humid. It
yeah,
was hot and stinky and sweaty. And I got told by people, look, go and have a iced chocolate from the tent over there. It's run by the Freaky Christians, but they're nice enough and they won't hassle you. And I went, all right. And I avoided it because it was run by Freaky Christians.
yeah.
But then I went, I'm too hot. And the cold iced chocolate was $1.50. And I was pretty poor before that night. And I had like $20 and I went in there and I said, may I have an iced chocolate? And I said, yes. You better come in and sit down, man, because you're really, really hot. Yeah, you better come in, dude. So they took me into the tent where it was cooler because they'd arranged the tent in layers so the air would come in and cool. And there wasn't sides to the tent.
Right.
But they had it up on pallets, and there was shade under the pallets, so the air would come into the shade, cool, and then come up through the pallets and be drawn up through these layered sort of tent, and it was nice and cool in there. And they gave me this water, and this towel came out. This little girl came out with a towel and said, "This is to wipe the perspiration off you because you're uncomfortable." And the woman who's with her said, "You've done very well." She's learning how to be a waitress, and she's done very well. And I said, "Thank you, madam. You've done very well." And she was all very happy. She'd done very good at her first job. Yes. I got to get off and get more towels. So busy. And off she went, and just gorgeous. And then out came my iced chocolate, and I tasted it, and it was sweet, and it was cold. And they also gave me free water with ice in it, and cooled me down. And this big guy came and sat down and said, "So why don't you tell me about it? Because you obviously cured." And I went, "All right." And I did, and I just vomited fucking my life at him. And he said, "Wow, that is such an adventure. That's an amazing adventure." And I went, "Yeah, it is. And this is the bits that are getting me down." And he said, "Yeah, they are getting you down. You know, these are choices that you've made that have backfired, which, you know, sucks ass. And there's no getting around that. But you've made so many choices that have really, really done amazingly well for you, you know. How many people get on a plane and come to Byron Bay and tell jokes for a living? That is just sensational work. You've worked so hard for that, and you've made it. And no one had told me that. No one had reminded me of that. No one had stopped and said, that is an achievement. And I had worked my ass off for years to try and get that to happen. And it happened. And I went, he's right. I fucking nailed that. I'm the guy that didn't go into teaching. I'm the guy that didn't go into PR and marketing. I'm the guy that went into performing the hard road, and I made it. And I went, fuck, you're right. And he said, oh, I got to go and do some Christian stuff now, but hang here, we'll talk some more. And he's gone off because this woman's blown this whistle and everybody's down tools. And they've gone and done this circle dance in praise of God and in praise of Jesus. And they were all laughing and smiling and doing this circle dance. And they all hugged each other and went back to work. And I was looking at him thinking, wow. And I went, all right, well, I've got to ask you some stuff. And I said, look, you do this cafe obviously to get funds for the church. And he said, no, we don't. We have plantation timber and 3 farms which we work, and we have a winery which we work, and we have a factory where we make clothes pegs. And we get the local retarded children in to make clothes pegs, because we're actually an evil overlord cult who abuses the low wages of the young and steals tax concessions from the government. And I say, how many of these kids do you employ in near slave conditions? Clearly, and he says, as many as we can get. Because otherwise they're just left at home doing nothing, watching TV. And there's nothing like watching a Down syndrome kid get his first paycheck, and the pride in his eyes is just sensational. We love that. So yeah, we do that, and we don't take donations. And so I said, well, what's this all about? And he says, well, it's so that people who are hot and bothered can come and sit down for 10 minutes and have the best iced chocolate we can make. We have service. We believe in service. We believe in serving our fellow human being. We go to protests when we're young. You'll see a lot of the guys have got scars on them because we go to nuclear demos, and we go to we go to demos and get hit by cops. You're going to get hit by cops. And I went, yeah, I know. You're going to get hit. I've done that.
You're going to get hit by cops.
He said, yeah, I got this one from French Nuclear. I got this one from American Nuclear. And I said, oh, yeah, I got this one from French Nuclear. And so we were talking along. And then it came to, listen, obviously you believe in the Bible. What happens when your members turn out to be gay? And he said, well, the Bible's a funny thing. It tells you a whole bunch of guidelines about how to get close to Christ, but the main thing it says is to love each other. It doesn't say turn around and throw shit at each other because you've done bad. It says love each other and serve each other. That's what it says. And some people can't not be gay. That's the thing. But if you can sit around and not throw shit at each other and serve, I mean, there's going to be stigma in our community. I'm not going to lie to you. But if you can turn around and serve, you'll be right. If you can turn around and be as Christ-like as you can, you'll be okay.
You haven't seen Good Omens, have you? The TV version. But there's a very good TV version.
Okay.
That fortunately they had Neil Gaiman on as he might have actually been like a producer and got to say, yeah, do it like this and do it. But and it has differences from the book, but it's very good. So just the thing about being Christ-like, just remind the one bit, because the two of the central characters are the angel and the serpent, who've been around since the Garden of Eden and sort of hanging out on Earth doing their team stuff, and they keep crossing paths, and without ever admitting it, they've been friends for millennia, even though they're on opposite teams. But there's one bit when they're watching Jesus get crucified. The serpent comes up to the angel and says, "Why are they so mad at him? What did he say?" And the angel says, "Be nice to each other." And the demon goes, "Ooh, yeah, that'll do it."
Yeah. And in the book, there's the lovely bit of they both eventually find out that they think that the other one was parking meters.
Yeah.
And they both realise, no, that was man himself. And
Yeah.
Ooh,
and they both got good reports from head office for the Spanish Inquisition as well. Hell told Azrael that was excellent work, and heaven told the angel that was excellent work,
and so promotions for it, and they just went, "Oh, yeah, okay, whatever."
Howdy Annette, by the way, yes.
Hi, Annette.
So I tasted my moonshine too.
I had this conversation with this Christian, and I was fucked up for a long time afterwards.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't continue my simple hate of Christians. After you've been raped by a priest, it's easy to hate Christians just wholesale.
That's a completely legitimate reaction. Yes.
It'll go that way. But this guy just burnt down my hatred from the ground in an afternoon, and frankly made the best iced chocolate I've ever had in my life.
That's the top. That's the top.
And there was love put in their iced chocolate, and there was love put in their iced coffee, and it made the difference, and they cared, and they wanted everyone to be groovy and cool with one another.
Be groovy.
I said, well, what do you do about rule infractions? Every society's got to have its laws. And he said, well, we get together, the senior women and the senior men get together, and they say, what rule's been infracted? What's actually happened here? And they say, you got to have a person who's done something that they know that they did that hurt someone else or themselves. And we've got to go, why did that happen? What is it about our society that is not offering enough that made them do that, made them go that way, right? Move the drink out of the way of the face. What is it about our society that made this kid want to take drugs?
Yeah.
What aren't we offering that made this kid want to opt out? And he said, sometimes you find these kids actually wanted to find God in a different way. That's rarer, but often it's more about having a better experience of joy and ecstasy.
It's like
ayahuasca. And so that's something at the moment we're wrestling with. He gave me the impression every time we went through all their crimes, that they took the responsibility for the crime on themselves first, and then they decided how to correct the miscreant. And they said there are some crimes which we cannot abide. We cannot abide. We cannot abide interfering with children. We can't abide that. We get the police in for that straight away, and they're out. They're never one of us again. We can't abide by rape. That's not right. If you need more power over the people that you're with, then you're not one of us. Yes, you can have leaders, and our leaders become apparent. I'm one of the leaders. Our leaders become apparent, but if you want power, then you're not us. You're not of us, and you can go. And he went sort of through the list of crimes that most Christian organisations brush under the carpet.
Yeah.
And one of the things was, I said, so who has the last say, the men or the women? And he said, I don't. What do you mean? And I went, okay, interesting. That was interesting. He didn't understand what I meant. I said, what do you mean? He said, what do you mean? And I went, who, when it comes down to it, who in the final say of, the judiciary, who has the final word? And he says, well, the criminal. And I went, wow, okay, right. And he says, well, you decide if you're going to hell or not. You choose. When you're standing there at the pearly gates and you get asked if you want to come inside, it's your choice.
Yeah.
And it's the criminal that decides, where they're going. Excuse me 2 seconds. I'll be back in a moment.
Alrighty. So, mixing up a drink with my moonshine. Kirsten, you were asking me, did I get butterscotch on the palate? I might have one more little sip of it straight. I'm actually really bad at articulating what I taste in it. I'll just have literally just a little splash. And hi, Shannon, by the way, on Facebook. And people might see Grasshopper on YouTube, but I can't. It's complicated. So, my God, I love the smell of it. I probably like the smell more than the taste of it straight. Yeah, it probably is very butterscotchy, actually. I was thinking like, banana and whatnot. It's very moonshiny on the palate. It's its own thing, though. It's amazing. It's its own thing. Like it's clearly an unaged spirit. Because it is not a refined or genteel beverage. I'm going to shake it. Yes, Safa, I saw the health authorities thing. The latest alcohol safety tip is no more than 4 standard drinks in a day or 10 in a week. That is rules for wusses, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, honestly, no, it's probably good advice and you should follow it. I'm just not. So
but clearly bullshit as far as old people are concerned. And I'm an old person.
Yeah.
You know what? I haven't had a drink in. You were the last person who saw me had a drink.
Yeah.
You were the last person who saw me had a drink.
So this is the recommended cocktail that came with my moonshine. I did explain the moonshine to you, didn't I? This is a one-off. It was distilled from beer that couldn't be sold because all the pubs were shut during lockdown and it was going to go off.
Yeah.
And initially they were going to make hand sanitizer, but then they went, nah, let's go for it.
Moonshine, yeah.
And they made this moonshine. And it does have very tropical flavors. It's interesting tasting it straight. It's very much a moonshine. It is an unaged spirit. It is very sparkly and fighty. It's very fighty. It's got lots of very sweet flavors. On the nose, it's incredibly sweet. Like it fucking smells like lollies. So Duke, hello. Kirsten was suggesting butterscotch. And I think that someone said, but I was even thinking those banana lollies that you get. There's very much of that. For moonshine is just the branding of it. Like very colloquially, moonshine is an unaged spirit. traditionally, moonshine is stuff that's flying under the radar and it's being produced and sold illegally. But you get lots of
traditionally American untaxed, unaged spirit.
Yeah.
And
made from rye or wheat or whatever. It's just basically it's usually a grain spirit, and it's unaged. It's usually flavored, but it's unaged.
It took off in the 1930s in America in Prohibition. They banned alcohol in the country, and so they didn't have big aging houses where they could store alcohol and be aged. So they used to make the spirit and then smuggle it out to pubs and clubs and people, and they would drink this rot gut moonshine, because a lot of it was made really ordinarily, and some of it was made by the big alcohol companies, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, because they still had stills, even if they were illegal. But
even if if it was illegal, they'd still run them at night, and they also knew how to hide stills. So there was one county that used to make Jack Daniels, and what they did was they put tiny little stills in all the workers' houses, and they were responsible in the walls of the houses, right? There were these flat plumbing, right? And they were responsible for putting a couple of cups of grain and beer into the they call the liquid that they distill beer. It can be made out of anything, but they call it beer. They would put the beer in, and their own house fire would be distilling the alcohol.
Yeah.
And then they'd come round. The milkman would come round with churns of milk for the house
with a bottle,
the milk, and pick up the booze.
Yeah.
And put it on the milk truck and take it back to the milk co-op, which was owned by Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
And this happened for years, and the mafia had hold of that and kept Jack Daniels going. And then after Prohibition, Jack Daniels could open up. They hid thousands of barrels of aging. They call it not Scotch, but rye. What do they call it? Bourbon. They thousands of barrels of bourbon they hid in the mountain stream caverns, which had emptied because they used the water. So they hid them in there in the cold, and they aged really slowly and mellowly for 10 years. And then when Prohibition was over, they took them out again, and they had their factory ready to go. So what they had was enough money to buy themselves back from the mafia. And the mafia they're all about business. If you've got the money, they'll fuck off. And so they bought themselves back from the mafia, and the mafia says, thank you very much. Privilege doing business with you. See you later. A lot later. Never again, in fact. And the big houses had the money to buy themselves off the mafia, and the smaller houses all conglomerated and did the same thing. And so American booze went back to business. And these days there's still in the booze trade a suspicion of government. There's still moonshine being made up in them there hills.
Fuck yeah.
Right?
Fuck yeah.
And there's still a roaring trade in illegal alcohol.
Yeah.
They say these days that they make the alcohol for fuel for cars because of environment. But you've got to denature it, which means you've got to pour petrol into it.
Yeah.
And you're not allowed to have non-denatured alcohol. But there's not a lot of petrol that goes into some of those barrels. They have videos of them putting petrol into barrels of fuel, and they don't have video of them putting petrol into every barrel of fuel.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Kristen
pretty much
rightly
in a
points
nutshell.
out American alcohol laws are the worst. They're inconsistent. You're not allowed to buy alcohol in some counties. Sometimes, you're not allowed to on this day. It's the worst. It's fucked up. But I want to share this with you. This is the recommended cocktail. I got a little postcard came with the Pacific Moonshine. They call it a New Moon Mai Tai. So their recipe is 30 mils of the moonshine, 30 mils of the mac liqueur, which they make as well, the macadamia nut liqueur, 30 mils pineapple juice, 30 mils orange juice. I don't have any orange juice, so I did, instead of 30 mils orange juice, I did 15 mils of orange curacao and 15 mils of this special clarified sweet and sour mix I have, which has orange juice in it, has a bunch of stuff in it. It's a very special thingy I made. And this is of the gods. This is...
Keep some for when I can come and play at yours.
Dude, fucking... I swear to God, this is like... I'm sipping fruit juice by the pool. 4 drinks later, I am under the table next to the pool.
I'm naked running around the suburbs. Yeah.
This
sunscreen. Yeah.
This is the one that sneaks up on you with fucking nulla and waits until your guard's down and then smacks you across the back of the head.
Yeah.
And they go, "What happened to him?" "I don't know, but he's smiling and he's got a glass in his hand." So
he's on the roof shouting at fucking magpies or kookaburras. Yeah. I think he was shouting at kookaburras.
I'd shout at Indian minor birds because they're introduced and they've been hassling. I put food out so I get to watch birds through that window while I'm working. And just this week, the minor birds have decided to hassle the wattle birds. And I was like, A, not cool to do that at all. B, you're introduced and the wattle's native. So I actually have a Nerf gun now. And I got bullets for it today. I went to a toy shop today and got bullets for it. And I'm going to sit here and amuse myself when I'm meant to be working. I'm going to have the door open. And, oh, look, no, I have to show it to you because it's modeled on one of those high-power sniper rifles.
Shit.
And it's got a magazine. Where are we? Come on, come out, you bastard. What am I doing? Ugh. Trying to act cool. Oh, it's probably because I need to fire the round. There. That was probably it, actually. Anyway, you've got your little bipod on the front. You put the arm out to extend it. And you cock a round in, bring it home, and then go... So I'm going to be shooting at minor birds. I just got the bullets today, so I'm going to start shooting.
I have seen a police person while I was chatting in my backyard. Who I was living with another police person. I saw a police person take out her gun, and I'm just going, like, what? And they just got the Glocks in. And she's taken out a gun and they're chatting away and she's gone crack and fucking this minor bird has just exploded.
A 9mm round's going to blow a minor bird apart.
It's blew it away. And my police person flatmate's gone, yeah, Shell. We're in town. She's gone, yeah, minor bird. And put her gun away, happy as Larry. The other minor birds have caught the idea and fucked off.
Well, that's the thing. This is just going to annoy them, and if I annoy them enough, maybe they'll fuck off.
But this minor bird, and I talked to her and I said, "Tell about her," and she said, "Oh, it's a minor bird. They're an introduced pest, and they are really displacing a lot of local birds, and they've got to go."
They're very bad.
And I just went, fuck, don't be an introduced pest around her.
No. She has an absolute policy there.
Don't.
So the minor, MYNAH, that's the Indian minor, is introduced and does destroy the nests of native birds.
Mm.
There is a native that's kind of like it, that's called the noisy miner, and for fun, they spelt that Miner, like it's digging for coal or something. And apparently, it's very well named because it's noisy as fuck.
You
And,
can't actually mistake them, because a miner bird's this nasty little thing with this nasty little orange beak, but a noisy miner like
yeah.
They
So
don't
here,
shut up.
yeah, here we get the miner birds, some sort of bloody pigeon thing, wattle birds, which are lovely birds, native ravens. What was hilarious, the miner birds have been chasing off the wattle birds, which are pretty easily chased off by a couple of miner birds. And then a native raven lands, this big jet black motherfucker lands there, and the miners sort of go at it, and the ravens 4 or 5 times their mass, and it didn't even react to them. Like, it didn't even go, fuck off. It's just standing there, like, eating food to put out, like, looking at these miners going, what?
What are you looking at? What
and the miners fucked off. But it was just so funny.
Why are you looking at me?
Yeah.
Why are you here?
Like, if it attacked them, they'd be up shit creek because it's so much bigger than them. But it just wasn't reacting. It's just like, you guys.
I saw a raven reach out and grab a mouse, and I don't know if it was a mouse or a native mouse, but I saw it just clutch it, and bite, like, and it wasn't even looking, like, it didn't give a fuck. It wasn't. It was like grabbing a snack from a sushi bar and having a chat with his friend. And chomped on this mouse enough, and I was going, as you do. And then, they're quite adored, the ravens, from your alternative spirituality point of view. They're meant to signify lots of different things. And it's quite good fortune when you see them. But they're everywhere in Australia. They are absolutely everywhere. And people in the Central Australia have mistaken them for vultures. They will eat carrion, but they do hunt mostly. Whereas overseas ravens pretty much eat carrion.
I do remember conversing with someone who was very traumatized by an encounter with a butcher bird in their backyard, because they are called that because they are fucking killers. Other birds, I think it was a mouse again in this case, and they just fucking spear their prey. They're the same broad family as ravens and magpies. They're called butcher birds because they are fucking killers. And this person just in their backyard, and this bird just goes, and I don't remember if they said it was a mouse or another bird, but this butcher bird just eviscerated them. And they were like, why'd they do that? I said, why do you think they're called butcher birds? She goes, I thought they were named after a Mr. Butcher or something. No. They're fucking, they look kind of like little magpies or whatnot, and they are fucking killers.
They're pretty effective in their means.
I
could never understand how hawks and their ilk could hover like a kilometre above the earth and then fucking scream down at like 280 kilometres per hour and then pick up a vole or a mouse or a something, a snack or a fish, and then clutch it and then scream up again. And the vole or mouse or whatever is going, oh, I'm way too high to jump from this point. It's not good. Things are not good right now. And then get eaten on the way up. And what it is that their vision can see into the ultraviolet. And as muskies and volskies and things go along, they leave little droplets of urine behind them so that their family can know who they are and where they are. and so they can generally follow each other through the thick and dense undergrowth. And the hawks and their ilk can see the urine trails as these bright purple spots on the ground. So they don't have to see the vole; they just have to know the end of the trail. So they can, they're not trying to find something this big; they're trying to find something 5 meters long.
The trail.
And from that height, it's a piece of piss, and they can then, and you see them looking and waiting.
Yeah.
And what it is they're waiting to find which end of the trail's moving.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And then they just down they go. Drop.
I was always fascinated driving past farms where ploughing's been happening all this week, and you would see the various birds of prey, and they would hover. And they would hover for a long time. And you see, like, calculations are going on in their little raptor heads, and they're just going like, no, 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 no. And then, whoosh, death from above. And it's
death from above every time. And you just go, what the And, how do you sit there on the wind just stopped?
That blew my mind. They could do it for minutes. They're just hovering.
And they're just sitting. They're not moving. Like, albatrosses are amazing because they will fly for literally 1,000 kilometers without touching the ground.
And they fly while sleeping. But...
They fly while sleeping, right? They will fly for a month at a time, right? Expending almost as littlest energy as they can.
They glide.
They will fly, they'll glide slowly, losing minimal altitude, going fairly quickly, and then they'll find a thermal, and then they'll come up, and they'll spend real time following the thermal up into almost stratospheric conditions where you can't breathe, and then they'll just float down again. And go another, apparently they tagged one and it flew a quarter away around the Earth. It flew from the equator where it has something to eat to one of the poles where it had something to eat and lay an egg. And then hatched its hatchlings, then took off again. And flew and ate and then came back and then flew and ate and came back and then flew almost halfway around the globe to another site, a mating site. It's like 3/4 of the way around the globe to another place. But they don't stop. They just keep on going. And they're amazing. But these raptors, they stop in the middle of the air, and you just go, there's wind, there's clearly wind holding them up, but it's not massive. It's not like, pushing fucking weathermen over in the hurricane that's coming. It's pretty, it's a breeze. It's just a breeze, but they're stock still.
Little wing movements, just
little tiny wing adjustments, but their bodies are stock still, and their heads looking around.
It's absolutely freaky.
And then their heads will stop looking, and then they'll just sit there for a while, and then snap. The wings go back, the head goes down, and down the roller coaster it goes. And you see by the time it's hitting the ground and they start to pull out of the dive into the attack run, that they're going so fast that if you knew it was coming, if you're lucky enough to be out of the car and on the farm, watching this, you can't hear anything. There is no sound. You'd expect there to be the sound of feathers and whooshing, like every bird that comes near you makes a whoosh with the sound of them going through the air, but there is no sound. And when they hit, you sometimes hear the squeak of the thing getting hit.
Squeak of surprise.
It was like, squeak of, fuck. If a mouse would go, fuck.
That's what that is.
It'd be like that, it would be it. Or shit. And then boom, up straight up into the sky. But there's just no sound on there. It goes so fast. And then it's they put in the effort of taking their kill up, because up at the top of the roller coaster, they've just got to put the work in to get back up. But you think about it, they spent very little energy doing that.
Yeah, no,
And
freaky how
their
they
kill's
control
been successful, so they're actually getting energy back.
Yeah.
And then taking it home to the nest, and here you go, you ungrateful bastards, get some feathers.
We have a lot of magpies in our neighborhood, and on a walk recently, because it's been breeding season, swooping season's kind of over now. A juvenile following the parent along. You can tell because the juveniles get pretty big pretty quickly, but they don't get the white feathers. They're grey. That's how you can tell the difference between an juvenile, because there's often not a huge size difference, but instead of the really stark black and white that adults have, the juvenile will have grey feathers. And it was the funniest thing. Adult magpie walking along and the juvenile behind it, and it won't shut up. It's just going which is and Mrs. Angry's going, every mother in the world knows that noise. It's feeding.
Why is it green over there? Why is the worms red? Why are they going to that hole? Why don't they come out of there? Why is that? It's like, yes, dear. Well, it's because they're round. It's because they live there. It's because they need the dirt. They need dirt to eat. We're not eating dirt. We're eating worms. Yes, sometimes the humans give us meat and sometimes they hit us. Who can say why they do? I don't know why they do. We swoop them for their hair, so to line the nest. But did you find your nest comfortable? Well, there was that time. Yes, Jeremy pushed you into a stick. I know. Yeah. You've told me about that. You've told me about that. And Jeremy was sorry. Remember Jeremy was sorry?
Yeah.
Okay, let's forget about the stick.
Yeah.
It's a formative thing for you, isn't it? The stick. When you make a nest, when you're old enough, you'll know not to put sticks that stick out. Anyway. So
look at this. This probably won't show up. This was the seal on the bottle of Brookies. It's really cute.
It says cool.
It's in our nature. I love so many of the Australian distillers are mad for, we are using local stuff. We are using like this. It's funny. Sloe gin is usually spelled SLOE because it's made from sloe berries, and people often make the mistake. They think it means something. It's distilled slow. No, it's SLOE.
Nothing's distilled slow, mate.
But Brookies did their own version with local, and they actually did spell it SLOW. It's their slow gin. It's made with the jewel of our rainforest, the Davidson plum. So again, Australian flavors in the gin. But it is pretty cool.
Many of them around a rainforest and having the smell of the rainforest is gorgeous. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
There's a sweet sense of things living and dying, and it's really nice. It's you know,
and as Kirsten points out,
humidity and I hate heat, but walking around a rainforest is really wet and nice. It's the only bit of Queensland I can fucking tolerate without fucking getting temper tantrum. Jesus, I went off my brain in Brisbane once with my Mrs. Azy, and she saw me get the shits really badly. Like I really fucking went off because I said, "Why are we here?" And she said, "To look around." At fucking what? Where are we fucking going? What are we fucking doing? Are we just looking? And I was just ready to tear sculpture apart. And she went, "Wait here," and went and got me a bottle of Mount Franklin's, which was cold, and said, "Drink that." And I'm going, okay. And I started drinking it, and it was that time when the bottles first started to become collapsible.
Yeah.
And I drank it down and just crushed it as I was drinking it down. My body needed this in me. Because
Water.
in the humidity, you don't think that you're perspiring. You don't think that you're losing fluid. You are losing fluid at a massive rate. And I just got this into me and was cool, because it cools you from the inside. And I was just like, oh, I've been a dick. I'm much better. Okay, honey, I'm much better now. I'm sorry that I was temper tantrum. We can go and look at things now, but we should have more of that. And we, she said, look, we'll do one thing. We went to the Botanic Gardens in Brisbane, and there's a rainforest bit. And there's a bit in there which is properly shaded and properly rainforesty, and steamed all the time with misty water. And she said, you'll get wet. And I said, I'm already fucking wet. And we went in there, and it was just nice. It was just nice. We'd been to Fraser Island to visit my brother, because they lived in Mackay for a while. And we were there, and we got told once we got there's no smoking on the island. I went, that's a problem. And they handed out these film canisters and said, you must not leave any butts on the island. That's why there's no smoking, because that's a $25,000 fine if we catch you. And I went, gotcha. And I was very careful. And there was this one moment they were saying, when you get out here, the smells of this place are spectacular. And so we got out of the bus, and I didn't smoke. And he said, you're not smoking. You have the opportunity every time you get out of the bus. I went, no, you were talking about the smells of the of this place, and I'm not gonna ruin that for everyone. Just for a smoke. I can smoke next time I stop. And he went, oh, that's really good of you. A lot of smokers don't care. And I went, oh, that's sad. And but that's kind of a thing. A lot of smokers don't care. And for a long time, I was that smoker too. Before it was mandatory not to smoke indoors, I used to. I remember being with a mate when they banned smoking in banks, and I went, the fuck is the world coming to when you can't smoke at a post office or a bank? Fucking hell. And smokes went up to $5 a packet. $5 fucking dollars a fucking packet. Can you fucking believe it? And then I went up to $10 a fucking packet. Fuck me drunk. I'm giving up when it goes to 12.
What are they, like 40 now? Or
soon, hey?
They like 40 now?
They're 30, 35. 30, 35.
Yeah,
they'll
crazy.
be 40 next year. Year after, they'll be 50.
Oh, well, say the be. Sorry, just swing over at Kirsten saying these fabulous people. Yeah, like I don't care. You can tell I don't care. Oh, dear, the suffering of smokers.
Quel dommage.
Yes. Kirsten saying these fine people at Brookies, the Davidson plum, they actually grow themselves. Right. And they macerate it for twice as long as others do. But yeah, Kirsten, I think I said it earlier, but I got a pack from their site with Cappy sodas. This one's the blood orange and sage, and there's also a grapefruit and something. And it's like there's no sweetener in it. There's no sugar. There's no artificial sweetener. So it's just this incredibly, and I'll tell you for free, a highball with this and this, they know what they were talking about saying, buy this pack. And again, this is okay. Like most slow gin, this is comparatively low alcohol. This is 26%. So you actually can make yourself a couple of highballs to sit by the pool and not pick fights with kookaburras afterwards. This, on the other hand, flora and fauna beware if you have several of moonshines on a hot summer's day. it would get ugly, is what I'm saying.
What, by the way, people who don't know, what we're talking about is one day when I was homeless and I was couch surfing with friends, I was also had some very bad brain stuff going on. Bizarrely enough, at that time, it was worse than now, where I've actually had brain damage. And what would happen was I would black out and go places in the middle of the night. I just go places and wake up and go, oh, I'm so far away from where I'm supposed to be. And one morning, my host said, "Oh, Izzy's not in bed. Oh, he's not in the house. He's gone somewhere. Oh, he must have got up early and went." And then at around 11 o'clock in the morning, they heard me screaming for the kookaburras to shut the fuck up. And they came out and found me standing on the roof with sunburn all down my back, naked, completely naked, screaming at the kookaburras to shut up. And they've gone, "Hey, Z." They've gone, "Morning." So how'd you get up there, mate? I'm going, don't know.
Well, if I remember rightly, this was a 2-story house, so you probably just climbed out a window on the second story. And
well, we worked out that what we think happened was I walked around and on the fence. You know, fences, how they're 10 millimeters wide.
Yeah.
I walked along the fence and used a trestle to get up and on, and then ended up splat on top of the roof there, and decided that was a good place to sleep.
Yeah.
It was very difficult getting down.
Yeah.
We had
because
to use a trestle.
being sober would have been off-putting, I think.
Was off-putting, and I wasn't particularly out of it. I was on my traditional drugs plus a few more. I suppose out of it is a pretty good way to describe it.
Yeah.
Because I could, I was, I was pretty excessive back then. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about on the roof.
Little bit of trivia. We did a New Year's Eve live stream from there, and that got colourful. What I was particularly fond of was a girling deciding we had to be massaged while we were talking to people on live stream. Girling is this very large lad who took his shirt off and made us take our shirt off and started rubbing oil on us and massaging us, and which one or two people in the chat were expressing some consternation. It goes, "What is this gay shit?" And I'm like, dude, if me being half naked, having oil rubbed into me by another half naked man is gay, I don't know what's happened to the world. I just don't know. This is not the world I grew up in. If you're going to call that gay, then I just don't know what's what anymore.
And then Girling decided that it was important that he scream Milton for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
Around 2 o'clock in the morning. I was deeply into the sponsors' gifts at that point.
Yeah.
And was not in the place to argue against anything. And we were chatting, is it really, really necessary to be screaming Milton at this time during our live stream? And we went, probably not, but it is something, and I've got nothing right now. All I can see is it's full of stars.
Yeah. I think someone gave us something to keep us awake all night. But
And I remember waking up, because you bastards left me on the couch when you decided to crash, and you left the fucking camera going and the stream on. And I woke up and someone's written, well, this isn't any good. This is this old fat guy who's wet himself on the couch.
Oh no! Oh my God! Yes. You were sprawled in front of the.
I read that on the chat and went, oh, shit. So I went up and turned the camera off and went back to bed. And I thought, oh, maybe I should clean myself up. Yeah. And managed that. And I was the one first in the shower and came out, and I was awake then. And that sucked. It sucked a lot for a day and a half. That did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me,
Yeah.
but not now.
Okay, later. See, I got the clip out. See, so there's like an actual clip, and so you load it with multiple Nerf darts, and you're what? Oh god, what's the name of those high-powered rifles? That this is
Assault
more.
rifles.
No, there's a particular name for it, but I just love that you rack it. It's like shoot some neighborhood kid. What am I doing? Oh, I've done something wrong. I've confused it. Ugh, what are we doing?
Clear the breach, mate. Clear the breach.
Yeah, that's what needs to happen. Ah, there was one in the fucking chamber. Okay. There's a man who knows his armaments. I had to clear the breach in the Nerf gun. Where'd the dart go? Okay. I just love that we make shit like this for kids. It's like, oh my god, I twisted that one. Okay, come on.
Oh, when I was living with a police person,
Yeah.
he was doing a special training exercise to become a sniper.
Yeah.
And one of the exercises they have to do is they have to clear a bullet from the gun that's jammed.
Yeah.
The rifle that's jammed. And they have to get 10 rounds off in 10 seconds with this jammed bullet. And so what he would get me to do, and there was a special bullet that they had. It was all practice. It was like a Nerf gun that they gave them to practice with and strip and put back together and strip and put back together. And we would watch TV and drink scotch and watch Edge of Darkness, the British version,
Yes.
with the Eric Clapton guitar, which is the most amazing guitar in it. Anyway, we would get drunk and watch that, and he would strip and unstrip his practice gun rifle.
Yeah.
And what he would get me to do when he was practicing clearing the gun was I would load the clip and I would load the special bullet that deliberately jammed in a different place. So he would go click, 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 jam, and then he would have to strip it down to get the jam out and then get it back going again.
Yeah.
And there's ways and means. And eventually he knew when I was going to put it in. So what I did was I got a dice and I rolled dice, and that was where it was going to go, and that fucked him.
Yeah.
And he said it was brilliant because he had to really work at it after that. And he got it to the point where he could go through the clip and get rid of the jammed round in 7 seconds every time. And I was just going, Jesus.
Training about, yeah.
And he said, you've got to, and he said, in reality, the snipers don't put them out that fast. It never happens. You maybe put out 3 fairly quickly, but not fast. Like, there'd be a couple seconds in between each one because you've got to aim properly. He says because it's multiple targets, you might have to, line up quickly, and they teach you to shoot very fast. So if you've got lots of terrorists and, and you're never on your own as a sniper, there's always many. And so your headset says you're going for this one, that one, and that one. And you're not to hit any of the hostages. And it's like, great. Yep, please let me, mummy. And they train and train, but they do this stuff so that if your rifle jams you, it's not a thing. It's just clear it now, get the next one in, and get his head off.
Yeah.
He passed the test. It's really hard to do. They only ever have like 5. I think it's 5 or 10 actual snipers in the whole force, and you've got to wait till one virtually dies. get your posting. But once you've done the training, you're in the list. But I mean, there is a waiting list. Put it this way: I'll get community housing before he'll get a sniper.
This I looked it up. This is based largely on the Barrett M82. I say largely because they had to change it a little bit to avoid getting sued. It being a proprietary design, but the M82 was actually designed as an anti-materiel weapon, mainly like it has such scarily huge munitions. It's designed to punch holes through vehicles and like radar equipment and whatnot. They do use it for people. It tends to not leave a lot of a person behind if you hit it. And it works, as I understand it, at a range of several kilometers. So it's a scary gun, and you don't want anyone to shoot it at you.
A British soldier got the world record for longest sniping hit from a Barrett M82 in Iraq. No, Afghanistan. And it was 2.8 kilometers and took his head off.
I'm not joking. The rounds in this thing are about that big.
Right.
They're actually built to punch holes through vehicles.
And there was no question that it'd go that far, but the wind currents change along that distance. And he said at the time, there was a stuff up in communications, and his name got published. So he was therefore out of the army. He was gone because he was enemy number one. In Afghanistan, he was useless. So they took him out, and he was able to tell a story. And he said there was this guy, and he was on a truck-mounted double machine gun, like actual machine gun thing, with rounds that are even bigger, fucking plugging these three platoons. And they had nowhere to go and a lot of pain coming because they were advancing, and they was starting to throw grenades, and it was all very ugly. And he looked at the distance through his scope, and his spotter looked, and they went, "There's no fucking way." But a bullet whizzing past you somewhere will give you pause for thought. And so he's loosed it, and it got him, took him out. The people around the gun have been quite disturbed by this. And somebody's jumped back on, and he had another go, got him again. And that's what secured him the record. The second shot secured him the record, because once is a fluke, twice is engineering. And they stopped. They turned the fucking truck around and went away, because they apparently later on they said either a drone was getting us, or there was a sniper camouflage somewhere close by. Not close, mate. And they went, fuck this, and went home, and it's all fun to fucking throw grenades at British Tommies, but fucking getting shot at, that's fucked. I mean, no one must be doing that. So they left, and this guy got the official record for longest shot, and the Americans were pissed because they had it. Before that, the Canadians had it. Before that, the Australians had it, and the Australians didn't give a shit. The Americans do really care about that, and so they've been long distance training for a long time. And the thing is, when anything travels through air, it encounters air resistance.
Yeah.
When you fire a bullet out of a gun and drop it, like you've got two, you fire it and drop it at the same time, the one that you've dropped will hit the ground at the same time as the one that you fired will hit the ground. Okay? Because gravity works on the bullets at the same rate. The wind, however, will direct the bullet into different channels of motion, and you're all of a sudden, it's like a laser. When you start with a laser, it's tiny, but when it gets to the other end, it's actually quite fat because it's decohered. And the line of travel of the bullet is decohered, and snipers are trained to count for that. To go, okay, there's wind going this way, so I go that way. There's gravity, so I go up this way. There's moonlight, so that's affecting the quantum reach of the 0 point energy. There's a lot of calculation involved, which is why they've always got a spotter, because they're always talking about how to get this thing done. And then they get a signal through their earpiece, do it now. And
sorry, I'm just going to interrupt you because it's bedtime, and you're sort of getting the wind.
I'm just finishing up, and the idea of this long range sniping is ridiculous, but it is actually changing weaponry, and we will see new weaponry very soon because the Americans want their record back. Well done on getting your Nerf gun. You're much loved. Thank you for putting a show on tonight. Thank you for letting me play. Hey, everyone, you should subscribe to Angry because he's really nice and stuff.
Yeah.
And he drinks Australian stuff, which is good and hard to do. And you should also like him and tell 6 of your mates to do things and put some money in my fucking Go Get 'Em campaign. GoFundMe campaign. So you're much loved. Thank you very much, everyone. And thanks for letting me play on your device.
Yep. And thanks, the internet, for lasting. Sorry, I just want to say, Annette, you accidentally bought 2 bottles of Nova. I was going to say, how does one accidentally? But I've actually done shit like that where the website's weird and when you're clicking one, you think you didn't, click 2 and you didn't notice. But hey, if you want one off your hands, I could probably work something out. Although I've got a nearly full bottle. It's very good. Abigail really liked it. Anyway, so that was, I just found that kind of amusing. Oh, accidentally bought 2 bottles of Nova, which is a Starwood single malt whiskey. And it is actually particularly good. All their stuff's good. And that is quite tasty, that one. I gave Abigail a taste test of all the Australian whiskies I have while she was over. Oh, and it is confident she's going to work out what to do with the 2 bottles of Nova. I am sure.
I'm sure, Annette, you will find a way, darling.
Yes.
You will find a way.
I tell you what, though, I reckon like the Brookie's Slow Gin and the Cappy Soda went well. And they recommend this one, the Moonshine with highballs. I think that some of that moonshine with one of these special sodas would probably be, with a big glass of ice on a hot summer's day, would probably be quite the treat. Annette, you're polishing off the old-fashioned. I actually don't have any of the premix old-fashioned anymore. I'm probably going to forget some. I want to finish the Red Manhattan. I've got enough for 1 drink in that, and it's taken up space on the drinks cart, and so I need to finish that. And as well as the Fortis, the 100 proof whiskey, and there's probably 1 drink left in that. So just to clear shelf space, I need to drink those 2. But I've got so much. This is not even all the things I have to taste. I got this Japanese yuzu liqueur because it looked cool. I have to do a taste test of that at some point. I still haven't tasted that, but I didn't want to do it all in one night because I didn't want to get absolutely shit-faced. So maybe tomorrow night I'll try the Japanese yuzu. I want to compare it to other I want to compare it to other fruit liqueurs I have. Yes. So we're wrapping up now. Just wanted to say whoopsie Annette with the 2 bottles of Nova, but hey, worse things happen at sea. We'll see all you fine people another time. All things being equal, if my internet continues to behave, be back tomorrow night. Had no problems tonight, which was nice. But you all look after yourselves. We'll see you all another time. And bye for now.